Hi, my name's Jerome from bitsandtokens.com, and I'm here with Alex from Celsius.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Alex Mashinsky, founder of Celsius Network. We're an app that allows you to earn interest on your coins, also get cheap loans. So we're trying to kind of be the reverse of banks, to allow people to unbank themselves and really bring power back to the people.
So a lot of people are familiar with Skype, WhatsApp, being able to use that voice over internet protocol to be able to have a conversation with somebody else across the world without paying minutes. Tell us more about your involvement with the VoIP system.
So before VoIP was created, right, I mean, the phone companies, it was a monopoly for each country. Each country had one phone company, and they used to charge you $3 a minute, $4 a minute to call your friends or family. And 1994, I thought that was just ridiculous, and we got to put an end to that. So I came up with this computer system that allowed you to take voice calls and bypass the phone companies and put it on the internet. And that was the first VoIP implementation. The first gateways, I built the first gateway, I wrote the patents and the protocols in 1994. Google it.
What inspired that to go, okay, instead of taking a phone call, let me put it on my computer and take a call over the computer?
Well, I'm a hacker, so I almost went to jail a few times growing up, like just hacking the phone company, and I just always thought that this idea that some phone company has this monopoly and they can control you and not let you use it. So as a teenager, I tried to hack through the phone company. And then I said, you know what, I can get around them. I can go around the phone company. And then that became a business. I built a company called Arbinet. It was public on the NASDAQ, did very well. But now 3.5 billion people use it every day for free, right? So I did good, but I also did well, right? So that's the whole idea. That's also the idea behind Celsius, is doing good before you do well.
So that was back in 1994 when I was, 1 year old? So how did we get from 1994, the VoIP system that you first started on, to today?
Well, so for me, it's like seeing the same movie again, right? So you think of VoIP, voice over IP, and now we're at MOIP, money over IP, right? What we did for the phone companies, the way we dismantled them, now they're all selling their buildings, and they're all like, basically, they're not making any money from voice, right? We have to do the same thing to the banks, because the banks really control our lives. I mean, you make a deposit, right? They pay you nothing, and then they turn around and give me your money and charge me 25% on the credit card. And they keep all of that. They give you nothing, right? And they charge me an arm and a leg. So we just think that if someone is going to use your money to lend it to someone else, you should keep 80% of that. And Celsius is all about we're still a middleman, but we're a middleman that acts in your best interest and gives you 80% back of whatever we collect on the other side. So we charge 9% to the borrower, and we're paying 7% to the depositor. It's that simple. It's just crazy that no one thought about this before. People look at me and say, but why are you giving so much back to the depositor? I'm like, because we can. You know, the bank can pay us 7%. They just don't want to.
I mean, they have overhead to think about, whereas what's your overhead?
So JP Morgan, right, the most profitable bank in the United States, made $30 billion in profit, not in revenues, in profit. That's $5 for every person on the planet. And they still have money left over, okay? So they can pay you. Go to find the JP Morgan financial statement and Google for something that says return on assets. And you'll see that they make 18% on their assets. So they can pay you 7 out of 18. That's not asking too much. With their overhead, that's profit is 18%, right? So my point is just that the banks became so greedy, so monopolistic, that they think it's like they're giving right to give us nothing and charge us everything. So all I'm doing is putting it on its head, trying to unbank our society and allow young people to have an opportunity. I already made my money. I'm not doing it for me. You know, I came from retirement. My wife thinks I'm crazy. But you know, I think young people don't have that opportunity, and part of the reason they don't have it is because they have to work so hard for the money. The money isn't working for them, right? The rich people, the money is working for them. I make most of my money on my money, not by going and having a job. So we got to enable young people to also earn return on their capital, right? On their hard-earned capital. And the people that prevent you from earning money on your money are the banks.
We sure want to earn money on our money. I want to know more about where do we go next? I think about how things were in 1994, and when you first created the voice over internet protocol, and now we look back at it 25 years later, and you see how much of the world has changed. I call that a singularity, that event in which you can't fathom where voice over internet is going to be in 25 years, but now that we're here 25 years later, can't fathom going back to 1994. We're now at the beginning of MOIP, money over internet protocol, for those that aren't understanding. And where do you see MOIP over the next 25 years?
So just like the internet was a new pipe, and we took stuff from the old pipe and moved it to the new pipe, and suddenly everything was faster, cheaper, better, the blockchain is a new pipe. When you use VoIP, you don't know that it's running on TCP/IP or UDP, what's the protocol, what nodes it's using. You just use it, you click on a name, and somebody appears on the other side. Same thing with money over IP, right? It's going to use a new pipe. The pipe is called a blockchain, right? And it's completely separate from the banking system. It's completely separate from the internet. The blockchain does not run on the internet. It's a whole other network. Most people think, oh, blockchain internet, oh, blockchain cloud. No, it's like an alien that runs its own thing. And then now we're taking value and we're saying, look, if you put your value on this blockchain, like Bitcoin, like Ethereum, or a stable coin, right, you can then transport stuff or earn stuff separate from all the banks. And that's why we can pay what the banks don't pay, right, and so on. So all we're doing is using new pipes. And there's a lot of people, there's already over 30 million people in the world that use this, right, every day. But most of the population in the world have no clue. They're looking at this and say, oh, this is like weird stuff. We don't know if we can trust it. We don't know if it's going to go out of business tomorrow, and so on. But this is the biggest revolution. This revolution is even bigger than the internet, because the internet fixed your movies. Now you watch movies on the internet. It fixed your search engine. It fixed your social media. This is all the money in the world. All the money in the world is moving from traditional banking to blockchain-based transactions, and that is much bigger than anything else, right? Because it touches everything. It touches every country, every person on the planet, and so on. And that's the opportunity. The opportunity is for people to join early and benefit from this transition instead of being the last passenger on the last train.
It definitely is a lot of opportunity there. So I guess now I'm really focused about how do we get there. We look back at the last 25 years, where even looking back just 10 years ago, voice over internet protocols seem still kind of far-fetched, until Microsoft bought Skype and voice over internet protocol really started to take off, and we really seen where it's gone really over the last 5 years. How long until MOIP takes off? And I guess either do we need big names to get into the MOIP space for that to take off, or is there a way for us to get as large as voice over internet protocol in a faster time without the bigger capital investors?
So you're right. I mean, look, VoIP is 25 years old, and only half of the people use it in the world, right? Now, the other half insists on paying the phone company every month, right? So it takes a very long time. So anyone that thinks that money over IP is going to be here tomorrow and all of us are going to be rich because we moved everything to the blockchain doesn't understand how technology works. Right now we're in the early adoption phase, right? We're trying to get to mass adoption. We're trying to convince our friends and family and everybody else that, again, keeping your money in the bank is not the safe thing. It's not the proper thing. Because every 10 or 15 years we have to bail out all the banks. 2008, we bailed out all the bank with our money. Everybody who thinks the government bailed out the bank doesn't understand how it works. We paid more in taxes so the government could write these guys a check and bail them out because they took too much risk. So the system doesn't work for the average person. Again, like in the US, 90% of the bottom of the pyramid have the same wealth as the 1%. Who do you think all the bankers are? Are they in the 90% or in the 1%? So we're trying to create a system that works for the people and is for the people, right? And it's very easy to understand what this is. Again, just look into that, do some research, figure out who you can trust. This is about trust, because all the power the banks have are because we are giving them our deposit. You stop depositing money in the bank and your neighbors, they don't have any power. All their power comes from the fact that they can take your money and lend it to me and pay you nothing for it. If you don't deposit that money, they don't have a business. So we hold the power, we just don't know it. We think that these banks are so powerful and so on. They're not. They're not powerful at all. Stop depositing, see how quickly they go out of business. Just like the phone companies no longer basically make any money on international voice communications. And that was 90% of AT&T's profit back in the 80s. So that happened very, very quickly, right? So the same thing here. The question is just how many of us join this revolution? And if not enough of us join, then it's going to fail. It's not guaranteed. Like, it's not like it's guaranteed that 25 years from now, Moip is going to have all the money in the world. If all the people look at this interview or look at what other people are doing and say, I don't believe it, sounds like a fake thing or a scam or whatever, then it fails. And if it fails, the banks keep retaining their power.
So that's where I wanted to go next. You brought up a big point with trust. How do you bridge that gap with the day-to-day consumer and get them to trust you, get them to trust us, get them to trust more people in the industry that are actually doing things rather than those that are just trying to scam them?
It's very hard because there are a lot of scammers and there are a lot of people who are just free riders, toll collectors, who are just in this to steal money from you quickly and go and do something else, right? So obviously I'm not one of them. I'm building for the long term, right? I'm trying to create something for the people, by the people. And you have to do your research. You have to really and look, banks spent 700 years building trust, right? The first bank was created 700 years ago. Today we take it for granted, but in the beginning people didn't trust banks either. So we're building trust by paying interest every week. Every week we give you more coins on your coins, and you can take that out and convert it into dollars or euros or whatever you deposited with us. And that is where the trust is being built. As long as we deliver, and as long as we just announced today we have 122 million in deposits. We did $1 billion in loans, right? We're a 10 months old company. So we're doing very well, meaning a lot of people trust us. But that's nothing compared to all the money. Like JP Morgan has, I think, 17 trillion with a T in assets. 17 trillion. That's what we're competing against. So even if Celsius was $100 billion in deposit, that's like a scratch on their finger. It's like they don't even feel it. You understand? So the mountain we have to climb is so high that it's going to take the rest of my life to get there. And I'm dedicating the rest of my life to this, because if you think of VoIP was just the practice. Fighting the phone companies was like the little fight, the skirmish. The real fight are the banks. No one has been able to do. Fintech is 30-year-old stuff. Fintech, all these fintech companies. Did they do anything for banks? Nothing. Venmo and all these other companies, right? Great companies, but they're running on the banking infrastructure. It's not a new set of pipes. They're doing the same thing that banks do, right? So what we're trying to create is a whole new system of decentralized architecture that acts in your best interest. That is the most important thing that you have to ask yourself as a person, right? Are these people acting in my best interest? I guarantee your banks are not, your brokers are not, your insurance guys are not. No one really acts in your best interest, right? Now, WhatsApp, is WhatsApp acting in your best interest? They do. They Skype, they don't charge you anything, right? You get a great service for free. They use your data and stuff like that, but you can say that they're much better than the banks. Let's put it that way, right? So I think that's the opportunity here. The opportunity is to convince people that you're acting in their best interest, deliver, and then they will entrust you with their hard-earned money.
So we definitely got into a great point talking about, WhatsApp's trust with us. They utilize our data. We were talking about the banks inside. You brought up the 4 major banks in America now. So with that trust factor, there's a big risk for us day-to-day users when it comes to our data and financial security with all of the different hackings that are going out there. As a previous hacker, what's your word of advice to people when it comes to either choosing your financial interests to hold your money in, as well as to hold your data?
Yes, it's a great question. So first of all, most people don't know, but every bank that you deposit money with was hacked, guaranteed. Okay, Citibank and JP Morgan and all these guys, they all got hacked, they all got money stolen from them. That stuff just doesn't get publicized, right? And because we have FDIC insurance and so on, people feel like, okay, I'm safe with them. Bitcoin is 10 years old. Just had the birthday party for Bitcoin, right? Earlier last year. Bitcoin has $100 billion bounty. The value of Bitcoin is $100 billion. That's the market cap of Bitcoin. So for every hacker in the world, that is prize number 1. That's more money than any branch or any bank account they can steal from. So no one has been able to break the Bitcoin. No one has been able to break the Ethereum in the last 10 years, right? And that is an amazing achievement. Most people underestimate, again, as a hacker, right? I used to be a black hat. Now I'm a white hat guy. So as a previous black hat guy, I can tell you that The fact that this network was not hacked for 10 years without bounty, just staring you in the face every day, tells you that is the safest place to put stuff in. Because your bank is not that safe. It can blow up because of government, it can blow up because it takes very high risk, it can blow up because somebody can just basically penetrate it and steal all the money from it. All that can happen tomorrow. So the blockchain is not that. I mean, the blockchain has proven itself again and again in such an amazing resilience that's why I'm in it. I'm in it because I believe that is the only system that can take us to the next, can help the next generation and can really take us forward.
To really end with the trust factor and talk more about you brought up the FDIC and how people feel that trust in the banks because they have that sense of security with the FDIC. What's the equivalence for Celsius and somebody that wants to get invested in the blockchain space?
Right, so first, most of your viewers don't know, but the FDIC never paid anybody since it was created. Okay? Never. Not once did the FDIC actually go and pay out a retail user with its own money. It bails out banks, but it doesn't bail out people. So the blockchain now has insurance policies. So like we use BitGo as a custodian. We're not actually holding your coins. When your coins are sent to us, we immediately put them with a safe custodian called BitGo, and they have $100 million of insurance with Lloyd's of London. So as long as the coins are there, they're insured, right? And I know it may not sound as a lot of money, but it's definitely better than nothing, right? And it's insured by one of the best companies out there. So the question is more about how much money are you making with your money? I think that is the issue. I mean, try to go to your bank and ask them, make a deposit and say, okay, now tell me what you're going to do with my money. Who are you going to lend it to? How much risk are you taking? I want to see a monthly statement. I want you to call me every time you take excessive risk. Try that. Let's see what happens. Or say, hey, you're paying me 1%, I want 7%. Okay, I want to talk to the bank manager right now. Somebody else is offering me 7%. I want you guys to pay me 7% as well. They'll laugh you out of the bank. They used to give you a toaster. Now they don't even give you that, right? So there's no chance. They feel so like they're entitled, and they behave in such a greedy way that they feel. In Germany and Japan, they charge you money to deposit. It's negative interest rates. They charge you money to make a deposit. So, and it's coming to the United States. I mean, it's not like, so all I'm saying is every year they're paying us less and they're charging us more. Paying us less and charging us more. And that's like plucking a chicken one feather at a time. How long are we going to let that happen? So the alternative is for us to take control and empower an organization that acts in our best interest. Right? That's what I'm trying to build. I'm trying to build an organization that acts in everybody's best interest. We use the blockchain to publish all of our information. Anyone can come and audit us and say, okay, Celsius, at any time, how much do you have on deposit? How many loans did you give out? How much did you collect in interest? Did you actually give 80% back to the community? I want to see that. On the blockchain, it's an immutable blockchain. I can't fake it. I can't cheat, right? Because everybody can look at the blockchain, just like you can look at Bitcoin and see where everything is. You can look at where all of our deposits are. So at any time, you can audit us, even if you're not a user of Celsius, and say, okay, guys, you're not doing what you promised. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And the reason I'm saying this is that in 2008, right before the major collapse, where Americans lost $23 trillion worth of assets in their real estate and everything else, the banks got issued a health check from the auditors, Deloitte and PwC and all these people, few months earlier said the banks are great, the banks are safe, the banks are wonderful. And just a few months later, we had to bail them out with the biggest bailout in the history of mankind. So all of that stuff doesn't mean anything, right? The bill of health from the FDIC or the bill of health from the auditor means nothing. And we've seen that again and again and again every 10 or 15 years. So the future is going to be the same. Unless we do something, in 5 or 10 years, we're going to have exactly the same thing, right? And again, we're going to have to pay for it, or our children are going to have to pay for it. There's no free lunch.
What is your message to the average viewer watching this? What should they know about Celsius?
So first, look, you got to get involved. It's Celsius is carrying the flag for Satoshi, right? We are here trying to deliver on Satoshi's dream of creating an alternative system to the financial system. But unless all of us get involved, nothing is going to happen here. So if you're watching this and you're not doing your homework, you're not learning, you're not educating others like you're doing, right? Then the revolution is not going to come. It's not going to happen. And you can't blame anybody else because you didn't get involved. You did not go and convince your friends and your neighbors that this is real. And this, I mean the blockchain revolution, the decentralization revolution, right? Just Google those words and you will see that there's a whole thing happening all over the world, and you have to be part of it, right? And it's the most important thing for young people, right? Is to control your future and feel like you're owning the future versus other people dictating the future for you.
You can also go to bitsandtokens.com to learn more about blockchain.
That's right.
I want to thank you so much. Is there a way for people to get in touch with you or learn more about Celsius?
Yeah, go to Celsius.network. Celsius.network, download the app, Celsius Network. The future is here, okay? Just a lot of people insisting on not grabbing it. So, and clinging to the past. So don't cling to the past, cling to the future.
It's great speaking with you today, Alex.
Thanks for having me.